So what's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world, and you're watching Championship Rounds with Marcel Pierre. Now bend the knee.
Are back on top. World champions for the 27th time. The Lakers repeat back-to-back titles. The LA Lakers. Back to throw Montana. Left throws. This fight is over. Floyd Mayweather has a knockout victory over Ricky Hatton. Smiling. Oh! He slapped him! Conor McGregor is the new UFC featherweight champion of the world! Oh, unbelievable!
Put the countdown mic up! Hell no!
All right, everybody. Championship Rounds is back. Had to come back to cover something that is really, really big in my opinion. Something really big. Yes, there was an exhibition that took place this weekend, complete with actual sanctioned boxing matches with notable names. So again, had to come back. Marcel Pierre here. Championship Rounds. As always, like, share, comment, subscribe. Love when you do that. Helps me out a lot. Wanted to get into this fight and get it, well, this card rather, and get it done and get out of here. So I'm going to make this somewhat short and sweet. Not sure. We'll see how long I go here because I do have a few things to touch on, and I don't want to not get my point across or not cover it thoroughly, if you will. So let's go ahead and get into it. Yes, again, Saturday, June 19th. Yeah, this past Saturday, yesterday, because I'm recording today, which is Sunday, June 20th. But yes, last night, Tribute to the Kings took place. And yes, the card was headlined by Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. against Hector Camacho Jr. That was a 4-round exhibition. Okay? I'm really wanting to cover the co-main event here, but I will talk about this because there was some moments that were noteworthy. So again, it was headlined by Julio Cesar Chavez and Hector Camacho Jr. All right? Chavez coming in, one of the greatest boxers of all time, one of the greatest body punchers of all time. The man's record stands at 107, 6-2. So he put in some work, and he was rattling off boxing matches, really, really staying active, and really, really staying victorious for the most part, for the lion's share. And when I say most part, that's really putting it lightly. Again, coming in 58 years of age, and his opponent, Hector Camacho Jr., yeah, he's coming in 58, 6-1. 58 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, and he's coming in at 42 years of age. So both of these guys are both obviously post-prime. They're in there wearing huge gloves, headgear, and all. Okay, so they were really trying to make this safe, all right? Because these guys, I mean, Julio's almost 60. So, I mean, I don't think the sanctioning bodies, I know this is an exhibition, but they still have to be approved by, the athletic commissions, if you will. So, I don't think they wanted to have anything bad happen. Boxing is already dangerous. You don't want to see a 60-year-old man out there taking haymakers. So, they put the parameters in place, the huge gloves, the big headgear. But let me just say right now, like, the fight got chippy. Chavez, being the older man, was in there throwing. He was very, very active, throwing punches, more than I can say for his two sons on the undercard, but we'll get to that. At least one of them. Definitely one of them. So, he was letting them go. He was not shy. Camacho, he landed some good strikes too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but if this fight was scored being 4 rounds, you got to give it, you had to come away with it saying Chavez took it because he was the more active fighter. But let me get back to... Whoa. I have no idea what that was. But, wow. No idea what that was. But, let me get back to the fight being chippy. Yes, the fight was very, very chippy. So chippy, I'm using the word chippy a lot, sorry about that. But it was so that way that, before the 4th and final round, Julio Cesar Chavez was very frustrated. He was very frustrated. Both of these guys going back and forth to the 2nd and 3rd round, throwing punches after the bell. Yeah. So, at that point, Chavez had enough. I think he legitimately threw his punch after the bell accidentally, and then Camacho obliged him at the end of the 3rd by doing just the same. And Chavez didn't like that. Took off the headgear, and Camacho had to show he wasn't a coward, so he took off the headgear too. Spoiler alert. Yeah, they put him back on. They finished the fight. All right, so even though the two were very frustrated, they still ended the fight how they begun the fight. And like I said, if you were scoring this fight, or if this fight was scored, it would be the 58-year-old coming away victoriously, and that would have been his 108th win, but it was only 4 rounds. So what are you going to do? All right, again, that's Camacho versus Chavez. Yeah, that happened. It was entertaining for the most part. Definitely 2 old men, for whatever it's worth, but 2 old legendary fighters, especially Chavez Sr. But let me just go ahead and get to what I'm really here to cover, okay? Because this is what I showed up for. This is why I turned it on. I don't know if this fight wasn't on the card, if I wouldn't have tuned in at all. I probably wouldn't have tuned in at all. I might have looked and see what happened, but I wouldn't have watched live. I had to watch this live. Okay, so you got Anderson the Spider Silva, the greatest middleweight of all time, mixed martial arts, UFC. A pro boxing record of 1-1. Yes, he's 1-1. His boxing debut was actually, let me see here. Yeah, his boxing debut was against a guy, wow. Yeah, I have it here. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah, his boxing debut, it was a 6-round bout. It was contested at 6 rounds. He actually fought that round and failed to meet the bell for the next round. So that was a pretty quick debut and a performance that would make you think that he would never box again. He didn't even make it past 1 round. That was in 98. He came back in 2005, 7 years later, and get this. Knocked out a guy named Julio Cesar de Jesus. So, yeah, his opponent tonight, or last night rather, was Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., the son of the great Julio Cesar Chavez, obviously. All right? And this guy is the former middleweight WBC champion. Now, I know I just said middleweight for Anderson, middleweight for Chavez, completely different MMA boxing. Middleweight in boxing, 160 pounds. Middleweight in mixed martial arts, 185 pounds. Now, don't get me wrong. Chavez has fought as high as light heavyweight in boxing, which is 175 pounds. So, but his best work was done at 160 pounds. Now, I say this because weight classes. I always drive this home. There's weight classes for a reason. Chavez did his best work at a lower weight. A lot of boxers use this weight cutting to be bigger, to be stronger at lower weight classes. They're willing to make the sacrifice, to put in the work, to cut the weight so they can have more power during the fight and hopefully fighting smaller guys. Pretty much. This wasn't the case last night. No, he's in there with one of the biggest guys he's ever been in there with. A guy that hasn't fought at 160 pounds. A guy that couldn't fight at 160 pounds. So, again, I say weight classes because although Chavez Jr. has several knockouts, over 30 of them, 34 to be exactly, coming in at 35 years of age. So while Silva came in at 46 years of age, almost 50, a decade apart, more than a decade apart for these two. So he's still fighting a bigger guy. And I say weight classes because power. Okay, when you're fighting smaller guys, they're going to feel your power more than a bigger guy, a larger guy. All right? So let me just go ahead and put this out there. Julio Cesar Chavez, not as good as his father. But what he can hang his hat on is the fact that he was the first pay-per-view against Canelo Alvarez, so this makes sense, but the first pay-per-view to cross 1 million buys since 2002, not with a name not named Mayweather, Pacquiao, or De La Hoya. And in 2002, that was that Lewis Tyson fight. So he can hang his hat on that. Yes, I know that the fight sold large in part to the name and the fact that it was Canelo Alvarez, Cinco de Mayo. I get it. All right, but definitely happened. Now, something to note here, Julio Cesar Chavez actually came in heavy. Yes, he missed weight. The fight was contested at 182 pounds. Chavez came in 184.4, 2.4 over the limit.
And it's a bummer.
Now, because he did that, he had to forfeit $100K to Anderson Silva, who made weight. Pissed Anderson Silva off a bit. He made a post. I'm not going to read it right now, but he wasn't happy about it. He was talking about how he was professional, how he put in the work, he cut the weight, got down to the contractual weight class. And he did, like he's done his whole career in MMA. So, and you could tell in the fight because when they started, Anderson Silva wasn't glove touching with him. He just ignored when Chavez Jr. went to touch gloves. But we'll get there. We will. So, yes, Chavez missed weight. He disputes missing weight, but the man's missed weight several times. 4 times officially, and he's had fights changed to catch weight during fight week because there was times where he knew he wasn't going to make weight. This has been an issue so much to that Canelo fight that I mentioned. Yeah, Canelo put a clause in the contract that there's $1 million for every pound you miss. You think Chavez Jr. missed weight? Hell no. But Canelo's team knew that was an issue. So he misses weight here and forfeits $100K. So that tells me right there, these guys got a little bit of money. You know what I mean? These guys got some money for this fight. If 10% is $100K, do the math. Do the math. So, again, Anderson Silva coming in. He hasn't even won a legitimate fight since 2012. A KO to Stephan Bonner, all right, at 205 pounds. And I say that because the Nick Diaz fight, yeah, he won the decision that night, overturned because he tested positive for banned substances, PEDs. And Diaz, yeah. So, I know some people are like, man, what are you talking about? Silva beat Derek Brunson. You don't remember that? You don't remember that shit? Yeah, I remember that. Highly controversial. And if you ask me, I'm happy for Anderson that, yeah, you got the win. Fight should have went to Derek Brunson. And if they fought again, they won't. Fight would go to Derek Brunson. So, Anderson Silva coming into this fight off of a disgusting KO loss to Uriah Primetime Hall. You actually kind of felt bad for Anderson that night. That was the night that everybody that was hanging on to Anderson Silva's career, the guys that still were, realized it's over. So you're thinking, and I was thinking, because I already mentioned this fight in one of my shows, and I was like, Anderson, don't do it. This guy's a boxer. He's been boxing his whole life. Your chin is suspect. I don't want to see one of my MMA heroes get knocked out again. I don't want to see that. But obviously I'm going to watch the fight if it's going to happen and wish him well. Hell, wish them both well. Because I don't want to see anybody get seriously hurt. I just want to see good skill and great combat like I starve for when I'm watching these fights, all right? So, but enough of that. Anderson Silva fought recently. That knockout loss was in 2020. Chavez, his last fight, he was a win. It was a TKO over a guy named Jason Minda, 14-5-1. That was in 2020 as well. So these guys are both fought last the same time. So you can't say that either came off the shelf for a long time and the other one was active, because they both fought just last year. One in November and one in October. Damn near a month apart, pretty much. So let's get to the fight. I think I covered everything here. Yeah. Here's a note before I get to the fight. I mentioned Anderson Silva's 1-1 in boxing, so he does have 2 professional boxing fights coming in before this one. His debut, yes, he failed to meet the bell after the first round. He lost, but the knockout win that I mentioned, that was that guy's only bout. He only boxed Anderson Silva, got knocked out by him, and never boxed again. The other opponent that he retired round 1 and lost to, he has a career record of 30-22, 52 fights. So that's the level of boxer he equated to, if you will. But again, let's get to the fight. Because I think, I'm pretty sure I covered everything this time. I did. All right, the fight. Anderson the Spider Silva boxing Julio Cesar Chavez. Yes, crazy to hear. I didn't want it to happen because I feared what might happen, but I was actually entertained and impressed. Anderson Silva had a slow start, just like he would in an MMA bout. He always starts slow. He's downloading data, usually. Now, I know people are like, come on, dude, miss me with that. He's an old man now. Yes, I know he's not doing it at the same level that he used to. His reflexes are slower. His data download speed might be slower. Come on. But that's what he does. He's getting a read on his opponent. And then he starts to move around, which he was really light on his feet. Footwork was tremendous. All right. Started slow. I gave Chavez the first round. I did, because he was more active. He landed more punches. He did. The second round was but Anderson Silva was there. He was popping the jab. He was throwing the loop punch a lot that he does in MMA. So some of his MMA striking kind of leaked into there a little bit, just a little bit, and I'll get to that in a second but first I want to say, yes, Chavez came out. He won the first round in my opinion. He was throwing in the first couple of rounds, but then he slowed down. He let down. He gassed. He was barely throwing anything at all. Barely. He had a few good punches here and there, but his volume was on low. Very low. Okay, so Anderson Silva, on the other hand, he's still moving around. He's still popping him with the jab, hooks, uppercuts, doing some nice work in there. Impressing a lot of the pundits out there, I'm sure, and a lot of the fans. So, Silva, actually, what I meant, some of his MMA striking leaked in. A few times you could see he was kind of wrapping the head a little bit, but he didn't hold it. It wasn't dirty. He let it go. He realized right on the spot pretty much. But you could tell he had the muscle memory to do that. So that would make sense. All right, but I'm not going to spend any time on that. Chavez was complaining to the ref, looking at the ref. I don't know what that was all about. Silva was focused on the task at hand the whole time. Again, Silva's technique was tremendous. He was definitely throwing way more volume, which that looks good to any judge. I mean, damn near if the shots are landing clean or not, it looks good to the judges. He's out there, he's working. He's showing the judges he wants it. He's showing the judges he's getting after it. All right, Chavez on the other hand, a punch here, a punch there, a 1-2 here combo. Yeah, he just was not throwing to show anybody that he was really trying to win this fight, in my opinion. Anderson Silva was just taking rounds. He was just taking rounds. And he even got to a point where he was doing his MMA thing. Pointing to the ground, you know what I mean? Waving him in, you know what I mean? Standing there with his hands to his side, head straight up, daring him to come in and strike. And Chavez throws it straight. He gets out of the way of that. He's still doing his thing. And then Chavez tries to come in again, and he pops him real quick. Like, the man still has that skill. This is still Anderson Silva. Yeah, this isn't Anderson Silva Vitor Belfort. This isn't Anderson Silva who overcame and beat Chael Sonnen. I get that. All right? But this is still Anderson Silva. He's still crafty. He's still a veteran. He's still one of the greatest of all time. Okay? So, again, Silva's age, you could tell. He was throwing a little bit, you know what I mean, sloppier, just a little bit sloppier than he did in his prime, where he was just crisp and barely, like, no wasted movement. And I kind of got a little bit scared here and there because he stayed in the pocket for a while, you know what I mean? A bit long to me. Like, I'd like for him to hit and pop, get out of there, keep on the move, which his footwork was great, you know what I mean? But he stayed in the pocket, and he took a lot of strikes too, and he took them on the chin. His chin really held up. And you can say what you want, because I already illustrated that weight classes matter. Chavez Jr. came from 160 pounds. That's just facts. You know what I mean? So, take that for what you will. Again, Silva's gas tank, the fight went 8 rounds and went all the way. He looked like he could have fought 12-13. Yes, at 46 years of age, he looked like he could have went all damn night. Crazy. All right? But let's talk about the damage. Because Silva was busting Chavez up, opened him, bruised him, battered him. Definitely. It was almost crazy. And I'm sure everybody was surprised at what they saw. I was happy as hell about it, though. I was like, give it to his ass then. He want the punches, let him eat them. And he was eating them. Silva was, getting through the guard, popping him again with uppercuts, jabs, pushing his head back. Silva was crafty in there. I was very, very impressed. Let's get to the decision. A split decision. Boxing is crazy. But then again, I've been complaining about crazy decisions in MMA, especially, you know what I mean, lately. Did you see Rory McDonald get screwed, Gleison Tebow, PFL? How do you score that for Tebow? Not going to go there, because I could go on about that one and many more. Judging is crazy. What the hell is going on? Should have been at least the right fighter won. So I'm not mad. The right fighter won. Anderson Silva improves to 2-1 in boxing. And now, you know what I mean? That win against a legitimate boxer, because this wasn't an exhibition. This was an actual sanctioned boxing match. It goes on his record. That can set up a match with Roy Jones Jr. A match he's always been wanting. That could happen. I don't want to see him get in there with a YouTuber. And I know that he won't, because he's already came out against it. So, again, Anderson Silva's 46. And he's still improving his marketability in boxing and his earning power. Yeah, he's going to earn a lot of money with his next fight. I just don't want to see him in there with somebody that's going to be heavy-handed because, like I said, when he was in the pocket too long, I was kind of like, don't. And there was times where Chavez could have just tried to crack him. I mean, maybe Anderson would have got out of the way and been crafty because he's definitely elusive. But like I said, Anderson was in the pocket. I don't want to see Anderson fight Mike Tyson. I don't want to see that. But yeah, it was a split decision. Anderson Silva won. Chavez got on the mic and was like, "Well, I think it could have been a draw." That's what he said. So he wasn't even saying that he won the fight. He just said he doesn't think Anderson did enough to win. But he said he thinks it should have been a draw. Whatever that means. Anderson Silva was thankful. He thanked the Mexican people, said how much he respected them. He talked to Canelo Alvarez. The whole nine. So like I said, look for Anderson Silva to get a big marquee match in boxing next. Dana White should have let him do it. He should have let him do it when he was in it. Well, maybe not. No, maybe not. Because what if he would have went and boxed while he was the middleweight champion, got cleared, and then came back to the MMA and was never the same? I kind of understand why Dana didn't let him do it. So, again, that was the tribute to the Kings. The only portions of it that I'm going to cover. Just got a couple more things to get to before we get out of here. So Oscar De La Hoya has an opponent now. It's official. Yes, he will be facing the Phenom, Vitor Belfort. That's right. So look for Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah, the drunk guy on Triller broadcast. That's who's doing the fight. Triller. Oscar De La Hoya is going to fight Vitor Belfort in a boxing match. Look for that. Other than that, the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung. Saturday night. Also Saturday night. Gets it done. Gets off the schneid, gets the victory, defeats Dan 50K Ige. Sorry. Dan Ige. Beat him. Unanimous decision. That's right. Korean Zombie back in the win column. In the rankings already. A couple more wins really, will probably land him a title shot. And that will be huge for Korea. So, other than that, last thing, Gervonta Tank Davis gets in there with Mario Barrios. That's June 26th. That's this weekend. Hey, if you like knockouts, check it out. There's a lot of material out for the build-up. Everything looks great. I'm interested. I'll be watching. I'll cover it. Thanks for watching Championship Rounds. Again, like, share, subscribe, comment, and as always, stay frosty.
Screaming, oh yeah, that bad kid, yeah, I hope it's all this.